Comandante roar with some NBA action. Bulls at Celtics, 76ers at Pistons, Thunder at T-Wolves, and Magic at Kings. And then a new feature here on Picks and Parlays. We're going to do our first championship roundtable. We're going to talk about, obviously, LSU Clemson, the national championship game. Joining me, three of our star handicappers. Craig Trapp in studio. We're going to have Tony Tellez, El Tigre, and we're going to bring in Higgy Pop, Sean Higgs. We're going to have a discussion about this game. We're going to look at offense, defense, special teams, prop bets, you name it. We're going to talk about it right here. So if you're planning on placing a small wager or two, or maybe a large one on the national championship game, you want to stay tuned for that, because we're going to be giving you a lot of quality information, as we do always on our website, picksandparlays.net, where you will find more free picks than you're going to know what to do with. And our expert picks are there for you as well. We do have a special offer. I'm going to tell you about it when we come back after the break. In the meantime, stick with us here. Picks and Parlays. We'll be right back after this. All right, welcome back to Picks and Parlays here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, where we're with you each and every weekday from 4 p.m. Pacific. I take it back. You know, I've been doing this for so long, and I keep getting this wrong. I don't know why. It's because I'm old. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, Monday through Friday on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network and the American Forces Network. And we do stream this show live and throughout the day on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. If you want to participate in the show, we would love to hear from you. All you have to do is fill out the comment section on any of our social media platforms, and we will see it here in the studio, and our ace production team will do their best to put it up on the screen, and I will try to bring you into the show. And remember, keep them coming. Rude's okay. Too rude? Well, since it's 2020, we're going to even let too rude in, because, well, we can do that. All right, I promised you a little NBA action with star handicapper Tony El Tigre Tellez. So joining me on the guest line is the Comandante himself. Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Nick. Glad to be here. And of course, final 3 months of the regular season in the NBA, and some teams jockeying for position. I think the Lakers right now in the West, number 1 seed, and Denver and the LA Clippers battling for the 2nd and 3rd seed to see who gets home court in that possibly into the second round of the playoffs. So it should be interesting here the final 3 months of the season.
Well, it should be, and of course, the 4 games that we've curated to talk to our viewers and listeners about today. I think we only have 1 or 2 teams in the West here, but that's okay. We'll give it to you anyway, because we are talking about the games for today, for Monday. So get ready. Let's start, shall we, Tony? Let's start with the Magic versus the Sacramento Kings. The Magic 18-21, 18-19-2 against the spread. They're 6-4. They lost their last outing to the Suns, 94-98. They're 5-13 straight up, 9-8-1 against the spread on the road. DJ Augustin, Aaron Gordon not expected to play. They've gone under in all 5 of the last 5. And the Kings, 15-24, 20-19 against the spread. They're only 3-7. They had a big loss by over 21 points to the Bucks. Bogdanovich is out. Harrison Barnes, Marvin Bagley likely to play. Against the Magic, the total's gone under in 7 of the last 8 for the Kings. Now, Tony, I didn't get a total on this one, but I do get a play from you. Tell us, how do we handle this game?
Yeah, I'm going to definitely look for the under in this game. I did see the line open with Sacramento laying 2.5. No total out yet, but I would guess it to be around 212, and I would go under in that one. As you mentioned, the Magic has been played to under the total. And the problem is we've got 2 teams who are dealing with cluster injuries to their scorers. The Magic, they score the least amount of points in the NBA, and they're 2nd worst in shooting. Kings 24th in scoring. The Kings play at the 3rd slowest pace in the league. Orlando at the 4th slowest pace. Everything here points to an under, Nick, between these two teams. And again, let's go under the total. I believe it'll be around 212.
About 212. And the Kings are home favorites, 2.5-point home favorites?
Yeah, Kings are 2.5-point home favorites. The Bogdanovich injury, I'm concerned about. Bagley's been out for a while. I don't know how sharp he'll be with these returning players. I'm not confident in taking a team with a score back in their first game. I want them to get that rust out of their system.
Yeah, absolutely. Start getting into game rhythm, which is a very important thing. All right, let's move along, shall we? Oklahoma Thunder against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Oklahoma 22-17, 26-13 against the spread, 7-3 coming off a 110-125 loss to the LA Lakers. They're 9-10 straight up, 14-15 against the spread on the road. Nerlens Noel is out. The total is under in 7 of the last 10 games for the Thunder. And the Timberwolves, they're 5-5. Most recent outing was a loss to the Rockets. Karl-Anthony Towns, Jake Layman are out, but they've been out for a while. 6-11 straight up, 5-11-1 against the spread at home. They've gone under in 9 of the last 13. Now, I don't have a total on this one, but I do have Oklahoma City as 2-point road favorites.
Yes, they are. And I will go ahead and lay the 2 with OKC. I would guess the total will be between 217, 218. I'm going to stay away from this total because recent form and Thunder have been pretty good. They had won 7 of 8 until they fell at home to Lakers. And, losing Lakers, I know Lakers had some injuries there, but, still the form for the Thunder has been really good. Remember, they were on a spread covering streak of 8 straight prior to that game, and they defended well against the bad teams during the streak. Now, when you look at the Timberwolves, the team has had success beating up on the bad and injury teams on their schedule the past 2 weeks. Karl-Anthony Towns from Minnesota, he's dealing with a knee injury. Now, he's a rim defender and a scorer, so that's a huge loss for Minnesota. I think the OKC size down low will be an advantage here for rebounds, defense, and points around the bucket. Thunder has covered 14 of 19 on the road. The Minnesota has failed to cover 11 of 16 at home, and they're not shooting the ball very well. Are these Timberwolves on their home court overall, and from the three-point line, only 29%. I'll go ahead and lay the 2 points with OKC. They've been a good road team.
All right. Karl-Anthony Towns and Jake Layman, they've been out on and off pretty frequently for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So, clearly they're not letting them get better properly before they throw them back into the cauldron. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns is the important one, of course,
Yeah, Towns is the important player there. And, of course, when you're dealing with a big man and a knee, you got to be extra careful. Remember, look at Zion Williamson, the first-round pick for the Pelicans, hasn't even seen the court since the preseason because of his knee injury. So they're very careful with these big guys.
Yep, they are indeed. All right, let's move along, shall we? The 76ers against the Pacers. 76ers 25-15. By the way, both these teams have pretty decent records. 17-22-1 against the spread. They are 2-7 though, the Sixers, coming off a 91-109 loss to Dallas. They're 7-13 straight up. 17-12-1 against the spread away from home. Joel Embiid is still out, not expected back anytime soon, if at all, is what I've been reading. Total is under in 4 of the last 5. And the Pacers 24-15, 20-17-2 against the spread. They're also in two teams with decent records in the middle of a really crappy run, actually, for each of them. Although the Pacers did just beat the Bulls 116-105. But they're 4-6 in their last 10, which isn't great either. 15-5 straight up, 10-8-2 against the spread at home. But Domantas Sabonis, Malcolm Brogdon are both out still. Total's gone over in all of the last 5 games for the Pacers. Philly, 1.5-point favorites, and I didn't get a total on this one. Tony T, 2 teams, good records, both in kind of in a bit of a funk right now.
Yeah, they are, and I'm a little more disappointed with Philadelphia because for Indiana, their top scorer, Victor Oladipo, he's missed the entire season. He's probably due back sometime in February, and there's no reason for the Indiana Pacers to have a better record than the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah. That's just, you can't make a case for the Sixers there. I thought Indiana would be favored here. I'm really surprised here. I'm going to take the Pacers here as a home dog. The total I would expect to be somewhere between 210 and 212. I'm going to stay away from the total here. But, that loss at Dallas was really bad for the 76ers. Yeah. They get outscored 68-41 in the second half. I mean, Philadelphia has lost and failed to cover 5 straight on the road. And the issues here with the Sixers has been their defense. They're a lazy team. When you can defend at home and can't defend on the road, that's just laziness. And they're allowing 47% shooting, 38% from three. Indiana, they do have a winning spread record at home. Think about this. 76ers have failed to cover 12 of 18 on the road this season. That's 2/3 of their game. And they're supposed to be a contender here for the Eastern Conference Championship. I don't see it here. Indiana has covered both means with Philadelphia this season. At home, they beat the 76ers by 18 on New Year's Eve. I'm going to take Indiana here to cover this one.
All right, last game, Chicago Bulls, Boston Celtics. The Bulls do not have a good record. Let's just put that right out there right now. 14-26, 19-20-1 against the spread. They're only 3-7. However, in a harken back to the glory days of old, it was Bulls Pistons. They did beat the Pistons and snapped a 6-game losing streak with that win. They're 7-12 straight up, 10-8-1 against the spread away. Total's gone over in 4 of the last 5 for the Bulls, and the Celtics 26-11, 21-14-2 against the spread. They're 6-4, a 35-point win over the Pelicans, snapped a 3-game loser for them. They're 15-3 straight up, 10-7-1 against the spread at home, and they've gone under in 12 of the last 18 against the Bulls. But the total's 215.5 here. Boston, big 9.5-point favorites at home. Yeah, Tony, what's up with this one? Over or under?
Well, I'll mention this here. When you look in Webster's dictionary and you look up for the definition of crap team, Detroit Pistons will be the first team on the list there. I mean, that is just a garbage team. So I don't give Chicago any credit for being the Pistons.
Along with Norwich. Okay, but we'll leave that one for later.
Well, Boston got out of their funk. I'm going to stay away from the total here. I'm just going to I can only lay the points with Boston here in this one. They got out of their funk. They just absolutely crushed New Orleans 140-105. Remember, Kemba Walker was dealing with the flu. And the flu hits people different ways. Some people are healthy with good defense systems in their body. They don't feel that, but some people can't, and I understand that. So the flu can really impact players' performance, and I think that's what you saw with the Celtics. They kind of went through the flu bug last week. They're healthy now, and listen, the issue with the Bulls has been their poor shooting. Just 43% from the field. They sit near the bottom of the league in offensive efficiency. They failed to cover 4 straight against winning teams and 6 of their past 7 against Boston. And here's a player that we heard about last year, Otto Porter Jr. Remember, he came over and Chicago looked really good, but he hasn't been on the team this year, and their offense is kind of has been poor. And the Celtics top 4 in the league in defensive efficiency ratings. I can only take Boston here laying the points.
All right, could it be another Boston-LA rivalry in the making here, as both these teams are looking very good as we get into the stretch run at the end of this? What have we got? 3 months, 2.5, 3 months about left in the season, I think, right, Tony? Still a lot of games to play, but certainly interesting. Tony Tellez, always a pleasure. LT Gray, thanks for having you on, and stay around T Gray, because you, me, and Craig and Higgy, we're going to do a little roundtable college football when we come back. All right, that's what we're going to do, folks, when we come back. If you'd like to get more of Tony T's picks, his expert picks are right there for you at Picks and Parlays. Don't be bashful. Head over to the website. And to make it easy for you to kind of lubricate your way into the expert pick department, load up some wonderful picks in the basket. Use promo code TIE, T-I-E, get 15% off. Why tie, you say? Well, with all your winnings, you're going to go celebrate, and you are certainly going to tie one on. All right, coming up, College Football National Championship Roundtable with Sean Higgs, Craig Trapp, and my guest this segment, Tony Tellez. I'll be right back. Welcome back, Picks and Parlays, here on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, where we bring you the absolute best in free sports betting picks every Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. I got it right. You see that? On the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, as well as the American Forces Network, and live streaming throughout the day on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. All right, well, we talked a little NFL opening lines already today. We've obviously the NFL playoffs in full effect. We have talked little NBA action, but we have a very big college football game just around the corner. The national championship game, number 3 Clemson against number 1 LSU. Let's get to it. I promised you a round table. It's more like a square table, but let's bring in our expert cappers. Craig Trapp here with me in the studio. Tony El Tigre Tellez and Sean Higgy Pop Higgs. Gentlemen, the national championship game is upon us. Clemson, what's to say? 14-0, looking to get it done twice in a row. Can they do it? They squeaked by Ohio State, though, in the Fiesta Bowl. That brought them back here to the national championship. Perfect 25-0, straight up. Top-ranked defense in college football. And LSU Tigers, obviously, 14-0. They blew apart Oklahoma in the Peach Bowl. Joe Burrow there, showing he can score 7 touchdowns in a half, averaging 48.9 points per game. The list and the plaudits go on and on and on and on. It's Tigers versus Tigers. Gentlemen, let's start, shall we? Craig, I've got LSU 5-point favorites, and I think that's shifted now. 69.5 points total. But I have to ask you this, Craig Trapp. Is it possible that the Clemson Tigers could upset the LSU Tigers?
Well, I mean, we've seen it. Clemson upset Alabama twice in the last, 4 years now. So, I mean, anything can happen. Dabo Swinney is obviously very skilled at winning big games. And this Clemson team hasn't lost in, 2 years? And the returning national champion. So not often does the returning national champion actually be the underdog here, but I actually see this line at 5.5. I even see a few 6s out there, very limited 6s. But I do hear that the public is banging on this LSU team and the over. The over, I think, is sitting at 69.5. I would imagine this over is going to end up at 70 before game time.
All right, let's start, shall we? Move on from Craig. Let's go to Tony. Tony T. Talk to me a little bit about the offense here.
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with LSU. Even in their opening game against Georgia Southern, I felt they were the best team in college football just in week 1 off from that showing. And I think they have a little bit of edge in the first half. I think I like LSU first half -3.5. I like them first quarter at -0.5 a point. Here's why. When you look at their toughest opponents this year, they faced Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, and Florida. They average 481 yards or greater. They average a composite 514 yards per game against those 4 defensive teams, the best they face, some of the best in the nation. Clemson has not seen an offense like this LSU Tigers team this year. I think LSU will have an edge in the first half, and I do see the scoring slowing down in the second half as Clemson makes the adjustments. But one thing to note here, Clemson can milk a little bit of clock here by running the football because they're averaging 6.4 yards a carry. They have experience in the backfield and experienced quarterback. So I see the game really shaping up here as far as looking for a prop play. LSU have an advantage here in the first half, and the game slowing down in the second half. I like the under overall.
All right, Higgy, what say you?
Well, we're talking about this total, and as much as, you see 69s out there, I see 67.5s, I see some 68s, but I won't be shocked, like Craig said, if this gets to 70, because people are going to pound it. You got LSU averaging 49 a game, Clemson at 43 a game. And also, you mentioned back-to-back champs, 3 and 4 years for Clemson. I've seen them put up, 44 against Bama, 31 against them, and 40 against Alabama. So we know they can play against these kind of defenses. Everybody's like, LSU is just going to roll over these guys. Clemson could score. This team could score. I think it's a lack of defense here that's going to keep the offenses on the field, because you're going to see these guys get winded. I guess it's a dome. It's not like they're playing humidity, but when you got Burrows having career, I don't even know what it's called when you have a year like this. It's just a record-breaking. The guy's unbelievable. But let's be honest, the guy on the other sideline, he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft next year. He would have been number 1 this year if he came out, but he's staying. He's a young kid. So I think crazy shootout, a lot of points. Yeah, Clemson, you talk about adjusting on defenses like Tony had said, but I don't think it's a matter. I think the offenses on both teams are just way too much. I think the total is going to sell. I'm shocked it's not like open at 70 and moving to 75, actually, because you got two guys who could chuck it. You got two running backs who are overlooked all over the place that put up huge numbers, and if they didn't have Heisman quarterbacks, they would be up there striking a pose on the podium. But here, definitely over the total. I think this game's going to be in the 80s as a total. I've seen Clemson against a team like LSU because they played Alabama in the last 4 years, and you've seen them put up 40 points in these games.
Okay, so riddle me this, gentlemen. Let's move on and let's talk about defense. You guys say Clemson haven't seen anything like LSU. Well, yeah, but they do have the top-ranked defense in college football. They've allowed the fewest points per game in the entire NCAA. Yet, Higgy, you're telling me this is going to be a shootout and the score's going to be over. I'm going to throw it over to you, but let's start here with El Guapo. Craig, doesn't that seem to be a little counterintuitive?
Well, I think it's more about who you play. The ACC may be the worst.
Exactly.
I don't know, maybe. They definitely were the worst Power 5 team in the country this year, so they played a lot of weak defenses. They had the easiest schedule by far of any of the best four teams that were left in this playoff, and I think that was more a result of that. And Clemson, they were up a lot of games, so they didn't really try to score a ton. So they just ran the ball, ran the clock out a lot in the second half. That helps your defense, but I think it has a lot more to do with the low quality of opponents they played this year.
Tigray, do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, the thing with the Clemson defense here, they gave up a season high in yardage to Ohio State. They were down 16-0. Then they made the adjustments. And that's really the key, I think, here is the defensive coordinators here and the defensive coaches for Clemson being able to adjust on the run here. And we saw that in that Ohio State game. Remember, Ohio State could have opened this game up. They got 3 field goals, 2 touchdowns, and then Clemson got those late scores. They showed they were clutch in that second quarter to make it a game. And, of course, they stole the momentum away from Ohio State. But, Craig is right. They haven't played really a tough schedule. I mean, they played an SEC team early in the year, 24-10. Win against Texas A&M, didn't cover, so people kind of forgot about them. They became back page news for a long time until they got to that championship game against Virginia, and they pounded Virginia there. But one thing to note here is that the LSU defense, can they stop the run? I think this is what's going to come down to. If Clemson can move the football on the ground against LSU, it's going to open up plays, and time of possession will be in Clemson's favor here because LSU likes to make the big plays. But, if you run those methodical drives, keep that clock running, that's where you can see some wear in that LSU defense.
Higgy, I see you nodding.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, the scheduling, what are you going to do? You play who's in front of you. The ACC's down. We know that. I mean, as much as people make jokes about the Pac-12 during bowl time, at least Oregon, was pretty decent. Utah, they'd give not a fight to Clemson, but come on, these teams in the ACC are just down. You saw, it's not a comparison. But again, playing Ohio State, slow out of the gate, they made the adjustments. I just look at it's different. Ohio State's a team they haven't really played. They've played LSU before because they're Alabama light. Let's be honest, it's the same kind of team. They know what they're going into. Adjustment-wise, the adjustment, everybody's talking about the Clemson adjustment. What about the LSU adjustment? A team could actually make a stop because when LSU played Alabama, that was who's got the ball last with a backup quarterback. I mean, so, again, I'm leaning this towards you got a team who's been here. This is their 4th in 5 years, right? 5 in a national championship game. Forget every, playoff they've been in the last 5 years. This is a team that knows exactly what to expect. Their head coach is awesome, if not, 1A to Saban here. I'm just, not that I want to just jump on the Clemson bandwagon here because nobody's on them. How do you just not give this team zero respect? We've seen this play out before the last couple of years. Everybody's been on Alabama. Now it's LSU, Alabama light. They're younger brothers. I don't get it. Clemson against Ohio State struggled a little bit. I get on defense, and then it was no brainer down the road. They just took over. I'm looking for more of the same here. I think the defense is there, the offense is there. And it's going to be a wild one for sure. It's going to be like that 45-40 game we saw 4 years ago.
Tony, looks like you're ready to jump through your box and land into Higgy's box, and we're going to have a fight.
I'm not into that Alabama LSU comparison because Burrow and Tua are different quarterbacks. I don't believe Burrow is a more accurate quarterback. He can thread a needle. Tua, he throws to a lot of open receivers. He's a chucker, throws it down deep downfield. I think Burrow is a better quarterback, more of an NFL prototype quarterback than Tua is. So I think there's a different edge here. I think edge and quarterback here for the Tigers, and I think that's the difference here in this one. It's not Tua just up chucking throws downfield.
Which Tiger?
The LSU
Tony,
Tigers.
the Tiger. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Burrow's on the LSU Tigers.
Tigers win.
Yeah. All right. I know.
Burrow is
the
on the
Tigers
LSU
money
side.
line.
I'm just making a saying that I think Burrow's a better quarterback than Tua. I think he's a more accurate quarterback. He can thread a needle.
Got it. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's move on, shall we? Craig Trapp. One of the things I love about these big games are all the prop bets that are out there. You know, who's going to win the coin toss? Who's going to pick their nose first? I love this stuff. You got any good props out there, Craig?
Yeah, I got two. I got one team prop, one player prop. First team to score. I love this LSU team to score first. Yeah, you got to lay the -150 juice here, but LSU has got out to some huge starts all season long. I think it's more of the same here. I could see that Clemson doesn't want to go, just score quickly. So even if Clemson wins the toss, I could see they obviously defer. I think LSU -150 is a layup. And then for a player prop, Trevor Lawrence over 296.5. I think with the hot starts that we've seen LSU, I think Clemson will get behind early in the first half like they did against Ohio State. I think Trevor Lawrence will have to throw the ball. So over 296.5 yards. Remember, this LSU team, what did they give up to Vanderbilt? 30 points or something? And a very bad Vanderbilt team. So I like Trevor Lawrence over the 296.5 as a prop too.
You guys got any other good props, Higgy? How about Jennifer Lawrence instead of Trevor Lawrence? What are the odds on that?
Jennifer Lawrence. Actually, I think the Hunger Games is on some channel right now. Prop-wise, I'm going to be looking at alternate total. So I'm going to be actually looking for something up in like the 90-point range, believe it or not. Let's see what kind of returns I could get on the game day for that. I don't have any exact numbers in front of me, but that's what I'm looking for. So I want to find good numbers between like 85 and like 95, somewhere in between there. See what I could get. So I think it's going to be a wild one. Wild one on Monday night.
All right, wild one on Monday night. El Tigre, any fun props for you out there?
Yeah, I like LSU first quarter at -0.5 point. I think the fast start, and of course Clemson, having to see this LSU team for the first time and face an accurate quarterback who can pin the needle. I think that's a difference in Tua, who's just a chucker. I'll take the first quarter here with the LSU.
First quarter with LSU. All right, let's run it around. Tell you what, 10 seconds for each of you. Anything spectacular we need to look for in this game that we haven't spoken about? Trapp, you're up. 10 seconds.
Well, this is, I think, how Ed Orgeron handles his first time in the national championship. Dabo Swinney, we know how good he has been in the national championship game. We'll see how he does.
Higgy.
I'm gonna jump on that with Craig right there. It's an experienced guy versus a first timer here.
Tigre.
I'm going to go look at the second half and pretty much how Clemson. We talked about Clemson's ability to defend LSU. I think we're going to see what happens here with the second half adjustments. LSU can get that first drive touchdown in the second half. It could be clear sailing for them.
Gentlemen, always a pleasure.
In-game, look at that.
Great fun talking national championship game with you. You can find every one of these gentlemen at picksandparlays.net. And right now, go get their expert picks. They're there for you. Use promo code TIE, T-I-E. Of course, none of them wearing one today. But if you do put that code in, you will get 15% off. Enjoy the national championship game. And remember, with Picks and Parlays, you're always going to bet, win, repeat. I'll be right back to wrap it up after this.